Here is Stanley running well. It's been knocked back by Hurricanes player. And here is Perenara. Now here's Jane in a bit of space. Corey Jane. And he's got Taylor with him. And off it goes to Andre Taylor. And he's done it again.
Hang about, we used to see another number 15 do things like this down at the Hurricanes.
Super Rugby on a Saturday night, coming to you from Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin. It is the Highlanders up against the Hurricanes. Game 2 of their series for the season. The Highlanders won the first one way back in week 4. The Hurricanes and the Highlanders need victory tonight to get themselves into playoff contention. Big show. Kelvin Middleton joins me, and of course James Haskell as well. We'll get to you in a second, James. But Kelvin, great to have you back on the show, mate. And 18,000 expected here tonight. Wonderful crowd again for the Highlanders, and they're in good shape.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, this is, you know, I'm nervously excited about this game. It's a game of the round. The points, you know, they both need to be getting up into their top 6 position. You know, and I think, you know, Steve Hansen will be watching this game. There are some huge matchups, and yeah, we'll talk about them later. But yeah, I'm a wee bit nervous about this guy next to me. I'm happy he's got his hand in his pocket. I don't want to pull on his top, and please, he hasn't got a handbag with him.
Let's have a look at why James Haskell is with us on the show instead of playing footy. Hask, you've king hit the bloke, not once, couple of times. You've been jagged through the judicial process. Now, I'm going to explain this to people at home. You got 3 weeks. They went back into your record 4 years, found a 1-week suspension and decided to add that to your suspension. So you're now serving 4 weeks. I think it's ridiculous. You can't comment, but what you can comment on, positivity. Welcome back to England, mate. Congratulations making the team for South Africa.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, it's, you know, disappointing to be here this evening on the sideline on a great rugby night. You know, the Hurricanes are a quality side. One positive, as you said, I've got the England, well, I've been invited into the England squad, which I think, you know, is a pretty good time to be part of English rugby again. You know, Stuart Lancaster, Graham Roundtree have created a special atmosphere there. People are proud to support the England team again, which is great. And, you know, for me as a player, there's so much good competition there now with the likes of Chris Robshaw and Ben Morgan stepping up and really raising the bar. So if I can quietly join the squad, try and you know, fight my way to earn the right to wear that shirt again, then that's what it's all about.
You better be careful when you use those words, fight your way, I think there, James.
Kelvin, I've got to say, though, talking about James getting a recall to England, what a wonderful thing for Stuart Lancaster to have a bloke who's just finished playing a whole lot of South African teams, all that IP going back into the England camp. Great for the new coach.
Oh, it is, and it'll be a huge advantage. You know, you've been over there, you've played all the players, and you know, we might think they're a bit silly over that part of the world, but maybe they're smarter than we think, those fellas.
James, tonight the boys have a real test. That trip back from South Africa was a long trip. I know 2 games, but physical games. Trip back's a long trip. To turn up here, more injury concerns. You're on the sidelines with suspension, and it's not going to be easy against a team who've got a lot of momentum going for them at the moment.
Yeah, it's a big challenge for us. I think, you know, if you look at our run into towards the end of the season, you know, this is a very key game. You know, last time we played them, we narrowly got the win. This evening, it's going to be a difficult case of affairs. You know, as you said, South Africa was tough. The Sharks game, you know, we lost, but I think at times we were our own worst enemies. So you've got to keep positive that we have that ability to play against top teams and get results. I think this evening we've got to start well. I think we've got to make sure that we pressure the Hurricanes and don't allow them to get their tails up, because they're full of youth, they're full of skill, and if you kick loosely to them, if you try and allow them to get into that physical battle, let some of the big hitters like Vito get hold of you, then it's going to be their evening. So, you know, we've worked hard this week, the guys have trained hard. I'm looking forward to a big performance.
Yeah, well, a new skipper in charge tonight as well. Andrew Hore has got the captain's armband because Jamie McIntosh is having a spell on the sidelines. He's been rested for this one. And check out Andrew Hore. He's got toothpick and all with Ian Smith.
Right, Andrew, this is an interesting stage of the competition for you guys and a huge night.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, we come back from Africa after 1 out of 2, so we've got to get back over here and try and get into the Hurricanes that have been pretty dangerous with the ball in hand, so hopefully get a win and get our season back on track again.
You reckon you've played here long enough now? I mean, I'm going back to House of Pain days. Are you starting to use this venue as an advantage?
Yeah, I think it is. It's obviously been pretty good for us. We're the only ones that get in there, and with how noisy it is, especially line-out time and stuff, and get calls and that sort, and the backs are finding it a little bit different, a bit harder to communicate as well, and they've got some tricks out there, and hopefully that'll work in a positive for us.
You've got some good old buddies in this team, but I don't suppose that'll matter.
No, obviously the old rugby thing, they're not buddies until after the game, and hopefully I'm the one smiling when we have a beer after 80 minutes.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Mate.
Yeah, he's not shy of a beer, Andrew Hore. He's nicknamed you Blaster, James, after a shooting incident. Apparently you turned up fully dressed in tweed like some boys straight out of Windsor. You haven't gone too bad with a shotgun, though.
No, I mean, obviously I didn't get the memo about fancy dress this evening, so I've come in my best English gear. But no, I mean, the same thing. I went shooting with the boys, and like any good man, I thought you've got to be prepared for all eventualities. I had my tweeds on, I had my sort of quilted jacket, but unfortunately the order of the day was cut off jeans, Spates headbands, and dodgy t-shirts. So disappointing. But the one thing about New Zealand is, you know, the people are extremely friendly, the atmosphere is great, and you get to indulge in things like shooting, fishing on a regular basis. And I can't say I'm enjoying it more.
Kelvin, you were a part of this team in the days when that was also de rigueur, going for a shoot, going for a dive, going for a fish. There's something about the old school about Andrew Hore, of course, but about this whole team too.
Oh, there is, and Andrew Hore, captain tonight, you know, a big point. And you don't really get much more old school than that boy. He's probably been away today crutching a few lambs already. So yeah, they breed him pretty tough down here, and I think Jamie Joseph, you know, he would have had a huge part to play and getting back to that old style and the old values.
Well, I mean, you've got to look at tonight. Jamie Joseph hasn't been shy of telling the captain, mate, time you had a rest, putting a new captain in, adding extra starch, of course, Hask, is the fact that Andrew Hore was gassed by the team he's playing tonight, the Hurricanes. He's got the captain's armband to go out there and really show them what they're missing.
And that's what I love about Jamie Joseph, because he's a great coach, but he's also an extremely clever man with a lot of experience. And I think what you touched upon was that he's created a culture here, which, you know, players are tough men, but they're also important in the community. They try and, you know, really recreate that Dunedin atmosphere of old. And I think with Hore there tonight in pole position, he knows he'll raise his game, especially because he's playing against the Hurricanes, because of the nature of the way he left the club. He's a competitive man. You know, he might look old school with his toothpick and his beanie on, but tonight he'll want a big game, and that leadership he'll lead from the front.
All right, boys, let's have a look at all the rugby on Sky coming up tonight and tomorrow. And of course, tonight here in just a few minutes' time, the Highlanders take on the Canes, a must-win match for both sides. Then the Rebels host the Crusaders at Amy Park in Melbourne. The Satyrs will be looking for 5 out of that one. Won't be easy, though. The Shark Tank, it's the Sharks and the Force. And then the Stormers take on the Cheetahs, a sellout at Newlands for that game. And then Reds are taking on the Chiefs. And I think that Sunday game at 6:05 p.m. Make sure dinner's all done, because you have to be watching. Now, one of the men we'll be watching tonight with interest is, of course, the Hurricanes winger Julian Savea. He's having a great season. He's standing by with Ian Smith.
Well, it's a new experience, Julian, playing under a roof. What do you know about the stadium?
Not much to be fair. I don't know really. I haven't been indoors before, so it'll be quite a surprise.
Is it something you've talked about, particularly in communication-wise with the noise?
Yeah, well, I've been told before it gets quite loud, so we've got to talk extra loud tonight.
This becomes a good game for you up against a guy like Jose Gear, so someone you've probably admired over the years.
Yeah, you know, he's big and strong, and he'll be a devastating weapon in their backline, so watch out for that.
Now, your backline itself is coming along quite nicely, a young backline. It's developed very quickly.
Yep, you know, we've got a good combination now, and we want the forwards to get us good ball now and try to expose them out wide.
In terms of the points table, the competition, this is a huge night for you guys.
Yeah, it is. You know, the boys have been told, you know, we've got to step up, and hopefully we'll do that tonight.
Good on you, mate. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Cheers, Julian.
Well, that's a sight that makes people more comfortable seeing the back of Julian Savea instead of coming at you at about 100 k's an hour. Kelvin Middleton, I mean, the kid, he's got game, and his game this year has been outstanding so far. Oh,
well, that is it. You know, he burst onto the scene last year, and, you know, there were areas of his game that he had to pick up. This year, he's come back, and, like, you know, he is unstoppable force. But I think the big thing to him is the man inside him, Conrad Smith. He is probably allowing him the opportunity to perform so well, and you know, I think he owes a big part of his credit to that man.
Well, you got Corey Jane as well. He's always a threat. Andre Taylor at the back. But, you know, on your side as well, Haskell, I mean, Jose Gear, he's class. He's proven class. Guys, you know, who have filled that role for you this year have done a job. And you guys don't mind throwing the ball about either.
No, I mean, I think you probably hit the nail on the head there. The battle today of the counter-attacks, the back three, is where I think this game's going to be won. Because the Hurricanes, if you read the press and read the way people talk about them, they're a counter-attacking side. That's what they're about. Actually, if you watch the way they play, if you kick well to them, they'll kick the ball back. It's where you kick loosely or you try and attack them and you get a turnover that their back three becomes dangerous and gets so many tries. So it'll be interesting tonight. I think you may see a bit more kicking from the Highlanders than usual. But, you know, the battle is there, and whoever wins it's going to win the game, I think.
Well, I guess, boys, that, you know, we need to look at both teams and have a conversation about what we can expect for both of them. And, you know, Hore up front, it's a big call. He's going to have to power up with Fia coming in that tight head role. For me, though, I just love Nasi Manu, Calv. I mean, I just think the kid has got such a big engine on him. Tireless.
I think the best part about, you know, Nasi Manu is that he goes through the games, he's playing the 80 minutes, and he is just a constant man. He probably frees up the likes of Thompson. He's a no-frills player. He's a very hard player, but he does a lot of work. And in that pack, that is going to be where the game is tonight. They need to be doing a lot of work.
You go a bit further out, Phil Burley, a big job to do at 12 tonight, taking over from Sean Treby. Haskell. Treby's been such an impact player for you, always bends the line. Phil's got a job to do in that midfield tonight.
Yeah, he has been. Treves has been fantastic for us. You know, he's great on those crash balls for a small man. He gets through the tackles. But you've got to remember, Phil Burley was playing pretty outstandingly before he got injured and broke his nose. And he was a key man. You know, he came from the Chiefs. They didn't want him. He came over here to seize his opportunity. And for those first few games, he was outstanding. So I think if Tams and Phil can link tonight, get that communication right, and deal with Conrad Smith, you know, we'll go well.
Well, let's have a look at the Canes then, and a big front row for them tonight. Reg Goods there and Dane Coles, and there's been a lot of oil about him around. Victor Vito's got a job to do, but I go back to Conrad Smith again, Calvin. Look, the man is a genuine freak in this game.
Oh, you know, you look at the current All Blacks that are playing, you know, current Super Rugby, and he is probably up there, one of the very few that are performing, you know, to their utmost ability. And look, he's captain, he's leading the side well, you know, but, you know, look at those back three behind him, Savea, Jane, Taylor. Oh, I tell you what, there's some strike power there, isn't there?
There is the man in question, Conrad Smith. Being exposed to guys like Conrad through this tournament, James, more so than you would have been playing for England when you don't get very few chances to play the All Blacks. What do you make of some of these key All Blacks and how they play the game?
What's very interesting, the one thing I've sort of learned coming over here is that when we played the All Blacks as an England side, we know the opposition through and through. We do a lot of analysis. There'll be a lot of talk about the opposition, talking to the All Blacks guys. The focus is all about the All Blacks getting their game plan, which I think is something we can learn. So when you come here and you actually get to meet these guys, you know, Conrad Smith is one of the most lovely blokes I've met. He's down to earth, he's genuine, but as a rugby player, he's fantastic. You know, that ability to cut gaps, leg tackle anybody, you know, all those kind of things make you as a player a better player. You get to develop because you're exposed to a higher talent.
James Haskell and Calvin Middleton on the panel with us on sideline as we go into our first head-to-head of the show. It's a big one. Adam Thompson, Victor Vito, there are their stats. Both have been in the All Black frame, of course, and there is an opening in the All Blacks with Jerome Kaino having announced his departure from New Zealand. These two boys will want to fill the jersey. Adam Thompson, first of all, I guess, Calvin, he's the sort of player who just gets amongst it, and he will go and go and go.
Look, I mean, that guy has got better and better. I think, you know, he only started relatively young. He was 26 when he got involved in Super 12, and you know, so that was an old age for, you know, relatively for loose forwards. But you know, he has got everything in his game, and I think when he plays well, the Highlanders play well. It's just a shame that he's missing a few of his buddies with him tonight. You know, they're getting down in stocks, but you know, by no means are getting any lesser.
James Haskell, Victor Vito, another guy that the boys will be keeping a close eye on tonight. He's having a great season. It reminds a lot of people of Jerome Kaino. Came into the All Blacks setup, went off the boil a bit, but this season really showing his A game.
Yeah, no, Victor Vito, I think he's been outstanding for the Hurricanes. The way he takes the ball always on an outward arc, he always costs defenders. You know, you have to put two men in to tackle him, and he's got that ability to offload, which is so important. And the fact is, you know, he's only 25, which is quite shocking because he's a big man. You know, I looked at him, I thought he must be about 28, 29, but he's not. You know, he's got a lot of rugby left in him, and he's stayed at this Hurricane side, and he's leading by example. And when you're one of those quality players, All Black players, and there's been a lot of wholesale change in the team, there's a lot of pressure on you to stand up. And he's got about his business. He's been outstanding, and you know, again, he's going to be a pretty good battle this evening.
That loose forward battle tonight, we know that the Canes are going to go after the forward pack. Every team that plays the Highlanders does. The loose forward battle, though, I mean, how key is it tonight to generating that ball?
It is very important, but the game for the loose forwards is really in the tight five. If the tight five don't perform up front, and we know that when Hurricanes played the Highlanders in the first round, they were beaten up. And they were a wee bit shell-shocked. So, you know, that'll be a measure of the Highlanders tonight, because the Hurricanes, they'll be a completely different unit. For those loose forwards to play well, you know, it starts up front.
Well, Case Muse getting into his work with the forwards here at the Highlanders. But another man who played in the front row is the coach of the Hurricanes, Mark Hammett. And Mark Hammett is standing by with Ian Smith.
Well, Mark, what's the key for you to breaking these guys down tonight?
Oh, look, we've got to work for 80. There's no doubt about that. You know, they're a physical pack, so we need to match that. And you know, we know how effective their counter ruck is, so body position will be pretty key.
This is a team you know pretty well. You've studied a lot of their players. You've come to know them over the years. Where do you think where do you think you're at breakdown-wise here?
Oh, look, it's no different every week. You physically need to be up for the battle, and tonight's no different. So, you know, it's been a focus of our week, as any team will be against these guys. If we can get that part of our game right, we know we can score tries.
What about up front? You're happy up front and the tights?
Oh, look, it's another big test for young Reece Goods that comes into for his first start. So, yeah, but we're confident in him, and this pack's started to grow, and yeah, it's you know, do or die tonight.
What about the environment, an enclosed stadium? This is a new experience for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is, but it's something, unfortunately, we can't do much about. We come in there to look at it last night, and the guys got a feel for it. I believe it's a bit noisier, so we've got a few hand signals if we need to during line-out time or scrum move time. So, yeah, we've planned as well as we can, and we'll just have to adjust on the run.
All the best, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Smithy. Cheers, mate.
Even got the wink. Nice work, Mark Hammett. He's a pretty uncomplicated man, Mark Hammett, and he seems comfortable. The fact that the Hurricanes come into this battle, they're worst in the comp in terms of possession, they're worst in the comp in terms of territory, yet they score tries. That makes them a very hard team to play, because how do you go about it?
It does. You know, you look at the points table of teams that have scored all their points, and prior to the weekend, I think the Hurricanes were second on that table. So they're a potential team. Their attack is ginormous when they link it together, and they do it on little ball and little possession. So, you know, I think if they can gain hold of their ball tonight, you know, there'll be a few fireworks out there tonight, and I think Mr. Hammett, he'll be hoping, probably for his sake, that Andrew Hore doesn't play too well.
Well, just looking at the points table and explaining why this game is so key for both sides. Highlanders on 34 points, Canes on 30. A win for the Canes tonight with a bonus point puts them ahead of the Highlanders and very much in contention for a wildcard spot. James Haskell, the boys, do they talk about the points table? Do they talk about the log and where they stand, or is it just week to week?
No, as a player, you know, it's the old cliche, but you really don't think any further ahead than the game you're playing that weekend. I think if you get bogged down with run-ins and all that kind of stuff, you know, it's very difficult as a player. I mean, you know, to use Paul Collins Slade as an example, you know, you think too far ahead, and you know, injuries can happen. I'm not saying that's why he got injured, but these things happen in rugby. That's the nature of the game. So you've got to just focus on getting the victory out of the way and making sure that, you know, coaches and everyone else worries about points tables. You just worry about performance.
Right, well, let's have a look at two boys tonight who will be worried about their performance. The two halfbacks, that is Aaron Smith and TJ Perenara. Cumulative stats or average stats of their last three games. Perenara, of course, leading in running metres. Big tackler as well, but we'll go to Smith first. Aaron Smith started the season with a hiss and roar. People named him as an All Black in week number 1. A big job to do tonight when he's coming up against an opponent like TJ Kelvin. His game is good though, isn't it?
He's an extremely talented, and yeah, maybe his game has fallen off in the last couple of weeks, but you know, maybe that's a wee bit of combination with the Highlanders. They haven't had that go forward ball, and it's been a struggle. But I think if you look at the stats for the whole year, they'll tell a whole different story than that. And the big part of it is Jimmy Cowan on the bench. They're bringing him on, and boy, I tell you what, he is impacting when he is on.
Before we get to Perenara, players have targeted Aaron Smith too, James Haskell. You see a lot of off-the-ball work on him, trying to put him off his game. What does that make you think about when you see a little man getting thrown around?
Yeah, well, obviously from a forward's perspective, it's always disappointing because ideally your number 9 shouldn't be touched all game unless he runs into contact of his own volition, which they very rarely do. I think, you know, the thing with Snuggie is that, you know, he's fantastic at getting that ball away. You know, sometimes in a few weeks, as forwards, we've meant that the ball's quite slow and he hasn't got it away as quickly as he needs to. But if a scrum half gets touched, it's down to the forwards, and we've looked very hard at that. And you've got to blame yourselves and go, look, got got to keep guys away, you've got to blast past the ball, but you've got to stop guys getting a threat, because if you stop the ball, it frustrates the whole game plan.
Now, TJ Perenara, as you see on screen, a slightly different game to Aaron Smith. He loves to run. His game last week against the Blues was so good. He was so assured. A little birdie told me that he got a fire up just before he ran on the field, saying, it's your chance to go out and own Piriwepu tonight. Now go out and own Piriwepu. And he did a pretty good job of playing well and leading that team around. He is a major threat, James Haskell, tonight.
Yeah, Perenara, I mean, he's been outstanding. As you said, last week was a showcase performance, I think, in all areas. But what sets him apart from some of the other nines is he loves to tackle. You looked at his tackle stats there, 17 tackles. He's a guy that if you run straight at him, he puts the big shots in. I think there's a little bit question if you cause him to do a shoulder tackle, he's having to go for a leg tackle, he's not so comfortable. It's interesting that he'd rather smash you than leg tackle you, but that's the nature of the guy, and I think that same confrontational mentality comes out in the way he carries the ball and he plays his game. He loves it, he loves the running game, he loves getting involved, and he's dangerous.
Kelvin Middleton, you saw those two, Aaron Smith and TJ Perenara, in a news interview last night. You're not happy.
I was a wee bit they were like best mates, and that they couldn't have been much more nicer to each other if they tried. In fact, to the point that I thought that Smith might have been giving Perenara a haircut before they jumped out on the field tonight. So look, there'll be no love out there tonight, you can guarantee that. Sumo.
There's some All Black selectors watching tonight, so tonight it's all on the line, right? It's all on the line too for Jamie Joseph. There's, well, he's a legend down here in Otago, isn't he? And he is standing by with Ian Smith.
Well, Jamie, as late as Thursday morning, I think you're ringing around trying to find bodies. It's been a funny old week.
Yeah, it has, Smitty. We haven't done a lot of preparation with regards to training, but we've got some. You have a look at our bench with Jason Rutledge, Jimmy Cowan, Tim Boys, Callum Rattel at Bronson Road. There's a bit of experience there, so you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
For you, this is almost coaching against the devil. You know a bit about this side.
Yeah, a little bit different from previous circumstances. They're obviously on a high, got a lot of confidence, had a really good win last week, and we're probably at the other end of the ledger given all the travel. But we've got a pretty good group, good leadership group there, good bench. So we've just got to play better than we did last weekend.
In terms of numbers, stats, your side is holding on to the ball the longest in the competition. You carry that on tonight.
Yep. No, I mean, certainly we've got to do that. We've just got to stop giving penalties away in those places that are costing us dearly. If we did that, we don't get off to those starts where we're sort of 9-12-0 down at the start of the game, it's hard to come back. And if we can do that accurately, then we should be okay.
Glenn Jackson, refereeing tonight, has a reputation for letting the breakdown go a bit longer. You keen on that?
Yeah, as long as it's, like what we're finding is inconsistencies, but if Glenn allows that, then there's going to be a real contest, and we enjoy a contest.
Well, I know you will. All the best.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, Jamie Joseph talking about Glenn Jackson, the referee tonight. It's amazing. People always look at referee performances. Glenn Jackson and Craig Joubert are renowned as two of the best in the competition. They give away the most breakdown penalties of all the referees, but they give a great proportion of those to the attacking team. The Highlanders, James Haskell, hold on to the ball more than anyone else, averaging about 100 rucks per game to the Hurricanes 60. So it makes sense then, if you're holding onto the ball going into the breakdown, you've got a referee like Jackson, you're going to get the rub of the green. Is that the way you figure this one?
Well, that's always the plan of action. That's always the way you want it to go. I think with these Super 15 games, you never know what's going to happen until the game starts. And the problem with the Highlanders that has been the last few weeks is that we've been our own worst enemy. I alluded to that at the start, where at breakdown, if we don't get the clear out right, you end up giving penalties away. If you're in defence and you come off your feet, it's too easy. If it looks wrong, referees are giving penalties for it, and we've had to smarten up in that area. It's an area that we're good at, but it's an area that we need to smarten up.
Well, you notice too with the Highlanders, they wait for that player to get isolated, then they jump in on it. So it's a real risk and reward type work at the breakdown. Kelvin, more of that tonight against a Hurricane side. They love to run, so there's going to be those opportunities, aren't there? I
think so, and again, it comes down to that physicalness at that breakdown point. Whoever wins that, that'll be the challenge. The band are coming in now. This is good.
Bagpipes.
So it all comes down to that breakdown. Who's going to win that? Get that go forward, and I think Jacko will be the perfect man to control that.
We've got to get out of the way here. We've got a pipe band coming through. They're going to take out James Haskell. That's not good enough. Boys, look, we're almost out of time. James Haskell, we know the Hurricanes are going to take opportunities to get points against you, because it's hard to get points against you. Don't give away penalties. Hold on to the ball, and when you are kicking, kick into great areas where they don't have a chance to counter-attack. About right?
Yeah, I think so. You know, listen, let's be under no illusions here. The Hurricane side are going to want to beat the Highlanders up. They're going to want to beat them in a physical battle. The trick for us this evening is for us to be able to impose our breakdown game on them, i.e. trying to steal the ball, but not allow them to build confidence by smashing our big ball runners. And we can't afford to kick loosely. We've got to get our back three in the game. But I think, you know, we've been in danger of playing too much rugby. Tonight, we need a bit more control, with a bit more of a sensible mentality, play in the right areas.
Calvin Middleton, a final word from you on tonight's game, and give me a winner.
Oh, look, I think it's going to come down to kicking, and hopefully Noakes has got the pointy shoe on tonight, and he's going to jot him over, because it'll be that tight. It'll be that tight.
Perfect. James Haskell, pleasure to have you on the show, mate. Best of luck with getting back into the Highlanders and, of course, the England tour to celebrate. Calvin Middleton, always great to have you as well. That is it from us down here on the ground. The boys are going through their final preparations. This one is going to be great. It is the Highlanders taking on the Canes. Enjoy.